Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dee. Welcome if you're new. In today's video, I want to share 3 types of bad parenting styles with you guys. So this morning I was scrolling on YouTube looking for some random content, and then there are just those little short video clips floating around called shorts. So I was watching those, and then one just got swept up and it just struck with me because it was so bad. It was a bunch of Reddit stories on bad parents, and this one story really just stuck with me because it was that bad. It was a young mom who had a young child at the time. She would basically drug the child with sleeping pills so that she could sneak out with her to meet her secret lover while her husband was working overseas at the time. And it was so bad that it kind of triggered my thoughts on just bad parenting styles in general. And then I just couldn't help but try to look for some summaries online of these different types of bad parenting styles. And then this one article really did a great job summarizing 4 types of parenting styles and their effects on kids. I'm going to share 3 of them that are very commonly seen that I personally feel very strongly about with you guys. The first type is the authoritarian parenting. These parents believe kids should be seen and not heard. What it means is they want their kids to constantly prove to them that they've achieved something. So these kids, in a way, is almost a tool for these parents to feel validated or like they're achieving something. But they never want to listen to their kids, what they're going through. It doesn't matter. It's the end products. It's the end results that truly matter to these parents, because what matters is not the kids themselves nor the kids' actual living experience, but rather what these kids can bring to these parents. In my belief, these parents are extremely narcissistic and at the same time very cowardly, because a lot of these parents are usually struggling with a lot of insecurities, whether in their workplace or in their marriage or in their families in general. It's just their authoritarian style is a projection of their own frustrations at themselves and their own inability to do things. So they project these insecurities onto the way they educate their kids. And what this usually produces is just extremely rebellious kids, because when these children are young, they're fully dependent on their parents, and their parents are basically their ruling party. They're the only party that rules them, and they have no say in this parent-kid dynamic, and they're the absolute obedient follower to their parents' orders. And then when they're older and have more agencies in their rational thinking, they start to question, why do I have to follow my parents? And then these parents usually are incapable of contextualize a lot of the reasons for their kids, and these parents are just incapable of just properly explain why they want their kids to do certain things. That's why it will lead to a lot of clashes, and this will inevitably lead to the kids feeling very much unheard and frustrated as well. That's why they want to get out of the environment as soon as possible, or they want to get back at their parents with their own rebelliousness. And then if their parents used to ban them from watching TV or just playing video games when they were young, later on in life they would do these things in such an extreme excess that it might hurt these kids' own health even. So they're getting back at these parents, horrible parents, at the cost of their own well-being. And that is very, very horrible. And then the second type of bad parents is permissive parenting. This is somewhat of an opposite style to the first type. So these parents set rules but rarely enforce them, and they don't give out consequences very often. They think their children will learn the best with little interference. And these parents, to me, are also just parents who have boundary issues. They don't know how to set boundaries. Usually they let other people tread on their boundaries. And it's also reflected in their interpersonal relationships with a lot of other adults. I personally feel the strongest about this one because as the teacher, I can see the correlation between this type of parenting and horrible teaching style. So if you are a teacher, you know how important it is to set clear expectations for your students at the beginning of the semester. And you have to tell your students what are the rules and how to follow them exactly. What are the rewards for following the rules? And then what are the consequences or punishments for not following the rules? And then once you tell those things to your students at the beginning, you will find that most of them are able to comply perfectly. But if some of the kids don't follow, you have to also enforce the consequences because you want to be consistent. And you know how important consistency is in the classroom, because if you don't show consistency with one student, all of the other students are going to start to question you, and they're going to lose respect to you, and that's when you lose control of the class, and that's when you know your semester is over, when students all lose respect for you. The same with parenting. If you don't tell your kids what's okay, what's not okay, and then you let them figure out themselves without guiding them through this process, but then when they break the so-called rules that you never even told them or clearly state to them, you start to chastise them, and they might feel wronged because they didn't even know what the rules were. And then when they did something that they thought might feel good or they thought was right, you started to go after them, and they might feel really confused and just kind of frustrated also. So this type of parenting usually lead to kids struggling with their schoolwork. And then the final one is one of the most common bad parenting style, which is uninvolved parenting. So these parents don't ask their child or children about school or homework and later on about their work. They might ask how much they make, but they won't necessarily ask whether they're happy doing what they do. And then they rarely know where their kids are or who they're with. And then they don't usually spend much time with their kids. Even when they are physically with their kids, they usually aren't emotionally involved. For example, these parents might spend a whole lot of time on their social media, on their phone, on just their whatever, without paying attention to what their kids are doing. And their kids could be literally talking to a pedophile, and they wouldn't even notice because they're too busy responding to their friend's Facebook post or something. So these types of parents are just really emotionally unavailable for their kids when their kids need this type of parental attention the most, because kids are really trying to establish who they are, and they really need that kind of exterior feedback. And parents are the people they care the most, and parents' opinions on these kids are what these kids care the most, because parents are supposed to be the people that love their kids unconditionally, and this is biologically wired, this type of relationship. So when you don't give your kids that, your kids will start to question themselves and have a lot of self-doubt and self-blame, because they thought, well, if the very people that are supposed to care for me the most don't even give a damn about what I do, who I am, then who else will? If they don't even love me, then I guess I'm just undeserving of love. And these kids will turn out to have severe self-esteem issues, and they will have very low self-confidence. And then when they deal with especially the opposite sex, this has a lot to do with these kids' relationship with their parent of the opposite sex. So a lot of young girls nowadays are having these daddy issues because growing up, their dad was just unavailable. Their dad might be in the picture on paper, but they were too busy at work, or when they're at home, they didn't really care too much about their daughter's well-being, who their daughter are seeing, and what kind of friends their daughters had at the time. None of those things. And then also there are cases where the dad is just straight up out of the picture. The mom was a single mom. So that's going to be a very bad and severe social problem. Well, it is already a huge problem that contributes, I would say, more than half, or probably like 80-90% of our social dilemmas nowadays. And you also have just very neglectful parents, or just uninvolved parents that would allow their kids to take out, from my observation, massive student loans to study some sort of useless degrees that you literally could finish with just reading books on the side in your free time. And they will turn out to be unemployable with massive student loan that they will not be able to pay off until decades later. And I wonder why these parents wouldn't take out just a few freaking hours to sit down with their kids and look at all of the majors they could go with the amount of money they have, and whether those majors will make their kids employable in the near future or in the long run. And then if it's not worth it, then what other alternatives their kids can take? For example, going to community colleges first, or just go to a trade school first, or just freaking take on some gap years to work and save up enough money before going into these schools. It's just like, it doesn't take a whole lot of time from these parents, but it will change the kid's life. And it's just baffling to me how a lot of parents here in America don't really want to take out this little energy to spare with their kids, to spare to their kids. So I wonder, what's your thought on this topic? What kind of bad parents have you seen or personally experienced before? Please leave a comment below. And if you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't. I look forward to seeing you in the next video soon. Bye. Take care.